Welcome one and all to F1 2020 My Team, and we are racing under the Jaguar name back in Formula 1 after a small break. And you can see we've got Shark as our title sponsor. Realistic goal for our first season F1 and a very healthy signing bonus. Going Mercedes engines, the proven engine in Formula 1. Of course, the backing from Mercedes is very helpful. And Antoine Hubert is making a step up to Formula 1 for the first time. But we're going to join Will Buxton for the start of our journey in Formula 1.
Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3.
Hello folks, and welcome to the HQ of Formula One's newest team. We've been invited backstage to gain an exclusive insight into what could be one of the most exciting entries in the sport for many years. Now, we've seen a number of new teams enter the sport over the last decade, amongst their number Manor, Caterham, HRT and of course Haas. And while some have proved to be successful, others have morphed into different teams and some have disappeared completely. What marks this team out though as being something different is that its owner is also its driver. Now, there's a rich history of that in Formula 1 too. Sir Jack Brabham, John Surtees, Graham Hill and Bruce McLaren all drove their own cars in the sport, but it has become increasingly rare in recent years. What's very special about this team though is that while the team itself is new to Formula 1, so too is its driver and owner. Well, that's about all we've got time for here. We will see how this fledgling team fares in its first Grand Prix.
Okay, great, thank you. That's a wrap.
And after our very fancy little car reveal there, we look around our headquarters there at apartment. Hard at work for the start of the season. We've got the guys in chassis doing the last couple of updates to the back of the car, it seems. And we move on to the engine bay, where that Mercedes engine sat very nicely dead centre. And of course, we move on to the durability side of things, testing out things, maybe doing a few race preps in there. But of course, also doing race preparations is the drivers. And you see myself at Monza, working our way through the first couple of corners and being filmed by Claire. And then we've got Susan here working hard in our marketing department. But we move on to the start of the F1 season.
Morning, boss. Jeff here. Thanks again for bringing me on board. You've found a lot of talented people for this team. I can't wait to see what we can accomplish. Our journey to the Constructors' Championship starts here today, and the car is ready to head out whenever you are. Let's get a few laps under our belt.
We're about to head out for the first time in our Jaguar Racing F1 car. And boy, it feels good to be out on track in our own car. Of course, doing the practice programs to gain those resource points to try and improve the car. And also just get settled in to the Albert Park circuit. 16 corners. Of course, always the inaugural race in current F1 times. And back in the pit lane after our opening couple of runs. And it does feel good. The boys and girls will be very happy, I think, with how the car is feeling. And as we come back in, we've been very strong throughout practice, the car. Me and Antoine both doing very well. But now we look ahead to qualifying on Saturday lunchtime. Join us right at the end of Q1. DRS towards the line now. We're flying now across the line. I'll set our first lap time and it's 1 minute 21.6, and it was good enough for P15. Antoine Hubert, 5 thousandths per second back, and both of us get into Q2 now. What a performance from me and Hubert, putting our cars into Q2, but now in Q3, we only had one set of fresh soft tyres left, so we only had one run in Q2. And we had a nice clear track in front of us, setting good times at the moment as we run now towards the final couple of corners and the run towards the line. The time is good enough for 14th place. Hubert 16th, just under 2 tenths behind us, but what a qualifying for Jaguar Racing.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. And home to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Raback over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula One, and yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz, Norris and Esteban Ocon, Perez, Stroll, Daniel Kvyat, Joker, Raikkonen, Hubert, Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Magnussen, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
And the lights are here now. We're hoping for miraculous like that man walking on water, but it's 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the 2020 season. We're on the medium tyres, importing quite a lot of the field. I think it's everyone apart from one of the Williams on soft tyres. Run towards the first corner now. We're on the inside. Our teammate just behind us. We're sort of pinched now to the inside, and the AlphaTauri and the Alfa Romeo go past. And then we've got Pierre Gasly on our left-hand side. He's managed to get past now. We're going to put it up into overtake and try and get him back into turn number 3 down the inside. On Gasly we go, and we're going to be side by side of him as we run towards turn 4 and then down towards turn 5. We're going to swoop round his outside, and we get P16 there. We lost 2 places off the start, but crucially still very much in this race on these medium tyres. We're hoping to try and do something a little bit different to everybody else now. We fly now through our first lap of racing. We move on now to the start of lap 2. And we're powering now down towards turn 3. We've been a poor exit, and we decided not to put it up to overtake just yet. We put it up to overtake quite late. Gasly now trying to find a way past us, maybe trying to go round the outside into turn 3, but this time he just can't find the way past, and those medium tyres starting to fire up a little bit now as we push on through the second lap of those 29 laps of racing here at Albert Park. And so far we're in 15th place. Hubert currently in 18th, and on lap 3 now get a bit squirmy on the throttle, almost losing the car, just about holding it together now up into overtake, and we're powering now down towards turn number 11, but on our right hand side is Pierre Gasly, and he's going to try and almost get a switchback through 11 and 12, that very fast chicane now. Pierre Gasly looking to our inside, he's going to be on the inside as we run now towards turn number 13. He's got DRS, but we're going to try and hang it round the outside of Gasly using those medium tyres as best we can as we go into the turn number 14. We're still on his outside, and we're just about holding to position, but this battling is now Raikkonen to get away out front. You can see the gap really starting to form now and this is very much hampering our progress in the race. But we don't have quite the same pace as others on the soft compound tyres, but starting the mediums to go a bit longer. It means we have to do less laps on the hard, and means we can definitely commit to that one stop and try and get ahead of anyone that's two stopping maybe further up the road. As we pushed on, working our way through the middle sector, good first stint, and by this point we started to reel in Raikkonen and the medium tyres started to fire up, and with 3 DRS zones, the guys behind really keeping in touching distance with us, and as a train we were starting to pull in on Raikkonen. But on lap 8, end of lap 8 now, Hamilton and Sainz into the pit lanes. That promotes us up into P13, and the following lap we have Bottas, Vettel, Ricciardo in the pit lane. Now we just get ahead of Valtteri Bottas, and so we're actually ahead of both Mercedes at this point in the race, but of course they are a pit stop. They've done one more pit stop. The further back out the pit lane came Sebastian Vettel, and Hubert gets caught up as Hamilton swoops around Vettel's outside, and Hubert has wing damage now, so that's going to really hamper him. So unfortunate for our teammate. But on lap 10 now, Bottas right at the back, and you see that delta on the left-hand side closing rapidly, and all of a sudden he's darts to our inside. We now fly down towards turn number 13 with DRS. He gets past and moves up ahead of us now, and we're sat behind Bottas, but he's pushing on. He's actually overtaking Leclerc. It seems Leclerc's pitting and come out behind him, but Max Verstappen is out of the race. Hamilton is right behind us. Verstappen is out of the race, and it's a safety car. We have a safety car. You see Max Verstappen pulling off just before turn 3, and that Honda engine seems to have given up. We're going to dart into the pit lane for our one and only pit stop, and Hamilton behind us is actually coming into the pit lane as well. He went soft to soft, so he has to pit again, so he might as well utilise this safety car to do his second stop. And you can see we've actually got out ahead again of Lewis Hamilton. So we're ahead of Lewis Hamilton legitimately on track. He's come out, Kimi Raikkonen swoops around our outside. But as you can see from the top there, we actually got to the end of the pit lane before, well, Raikkonen overtook us. So at this point, whilst I'm in lead mix, I am pushing to try and, well, regain the position from Raikkonen, but he is having absolutely none of it. I assume he was not willing to give up that position. And we have to stay in P13. We almost managed to get the undercut on him, utilising the safety car. But the delta was very hard, and you pretty much push as much as you want. But as we get going, once again, Lewis Hamilton going to be right on the back of us now as he run down towards turn number 1. We're racing once again here in Melbourne as we fly down towards Selman. Raikkonen's got a really good restart. We couldn't quite hold onto him, just not being able to get those hard tyres fired up as we'd like to. But Hamilton now on the back of us as we run down towards turn 3. It's Mercedes versus Mercedes. As we go into the corner, Hamilton's going to try and hang it around the outside, both of us on hard tyres. We're still side by side as we run towards turn 4. We're going to carry the speed around the outside, and we're just about to keep ahead of the Mercedes driver. He really wants to get past on his restart and not be held up by the newbies. Can he find a way now? Down into turn 6, he's trying to go on the inside. We have to give him the room, and that's given us a really poor exit, running a bit wide. Hamilton's still on the back of us now as we fly through turn 8, which is barely a corner. Jazz will turn on the Mercedes and go down or inside. Can we hold it around the outside? We tried to again get it on the curb. He's managed to get the power down much better than we have, and he pushes on. And of course, this is going to put the chasing back behind us, all over the back of us. We've got the Alfa Tauri, the Alfa Romeo, and I think the other Alfa, it's actually a Haas driver pushing on, but they will compromise themselves through turn 11 and 12, and hopefully Hubert can make up a few places. He's currently back down the order because Sainz and Bottas into the pit lane on lap 17. So they've forward to come in again, and we moved ourselves up into P12 now. So slowly climbing away up the order. This strategy working out very well, it seems. And further up the road, just ahead of us, Hamilton making progress and getting past Kimi Raikkonen. This was holding them up an absolute treat. Hamilton goes around the outside of Raikkonen into turn 13. And as they run down towards turn 15, that Mercedes, better aero, swoops around the outside of the Alfa Romeo, moves himself up. This allows Raikkonen to fall back into our clutches. Hamilton broke the DRS, and see we're onto the back of Raikkonen on lap 22. We've got DRS up in overtake, weren't quite close enough to make the move. And we're stuck behind Kimi Raikkonen now once again, making our way through the middle sector. So the first sector, not the middle sector, we're not quite there yet. We're coming to the end of the first sector. And, Valtteri Bottas is out of the race, and we have another safety car. Mercedes driver pulling off to the right-hand side on the main straight. And you can just see in the background, the safety car has come out. So once again, we're behind Kimi Raikkonen in 12th place. Bottas was behind us running tyres, so a bit unfortunate from that respect. But nevertheless, he's not going to be hassling us in the last 4 laps now. We're going to try and catch with the Raikkonen, but it honestly just wasn't enough. See that damage on the side pod could have been hampering us a touch. But Kimi Raikkonen is going to hold on to that position on track. But at the time, I didn't know this. I think it might have been a late call from the stewards. We come across the line in P12, but take 10th place
the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
in the race, getting 1 point for our trip round Albert Park today. And wow, first points in our first race.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
And a great first point for us. Penalties for Kvyat and Raikkonen, both under the safety car. Hubert couldn't quite make up the ground after that front wing damage, but he puts us 10th in the driver's standings. And wow. First points in our first race. You see domination from Ferrari after Mercedes' strategy errors.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts.
And of course, after talking to Colette, we have a look at our team acclaim improving very much. A great performance in our first race. And very happy so far. We get a cheeky little base payout as well. No damage deductions for either driver, so that's very good to see as well. And very happy with our first race, first points as well. And we've got a new sponsor on the car, secondary sponsor of PSD. Great goal bonus and great weekly income. So make sure to tune into the next episode to see them on the car.